I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Correct. Call this meeting to order and we'll do the quorum here. All present, Baumgartner here. Evers, I am here. Ferguson
Here.
Mayor Hawkinson
Yes.
present on Zoom and Howard here. All right, to start the meeting off, we'll start with the public forum. When addressing the council, we please ask you to provide your name for the meeting record and try to keep your speaking time limited to 3 minutes. If you do need any more time, we will get you with city staff or council members for further discussion. Is there anyone here to speak on the meeting? Seeing none here, anybody online? Seeing nothing online, we will close down the public forum and reopen the meeting. First, we'll start here with the agenda approval. We did receive the agenda last week. Now is the time if you need to move anything out of the consent agenda or added discussion items. I would ask for that request at this time if there is any. If not, I will entertain a motion to approve.
So
Second. Been moved and seconded to approve the agenda approval. We'll do a roll call vote here. Baumgartner.
Aye.
Evers, aye. Ferguson.
aye.
Hawkinson.
Yes.
And Howard.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right. We have a proclamation here today. Exciting news from the Bold softball team. They won a Section 3A section tournament and are going to the state tournament starting tomorrow. And our mayor has proclaimed Tuesday Bold Softball Day. So I'll just read the short summary of it. In honor and appreciation of the accomplishments of the Bold varsity softball team and the dedication and support of their coaches and parents, and appreciation of the hard work of all the players, coaches, families, and supporters of the Bold School District during this historic and successful 2026 playing season. Congratulations to the Bold softball team and best of luck to you over the next couple days. They're proud of you. All right, moving on, we'll get into the consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have regular meeting minutes of May 18th. Resolution 2026-52 approving the hiring of Jordan Vogt for the position of seasonal park maintenance and community center assistant. Resolution 53, step movement for Ryan Kruger. 54, approving acquisition of a permanent utility easement at 605 8th Street South. Resolution 55, calling for a public hearing on a proposed ordinance amending chapter 152 regarding R2 bulk regulations. And resolution 56, accepting the offer of the United States of America to purchase a $3.944 million taxable general obligation capital improvement plan bond of 2026A, pledging for the secretary thereof a tax levy and providing for its issuance and May disbursements. Any discussions on consent items? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Been motioned and seconded to approve the consent agenda. All in favor, we will do a roll call vote. Baumgartner.
Aye.
Evers, aye. Ferguson.
Aye.
Hawkinson.
Yes.
Howard.
I'll recuse myself from this.
Okay, Howard is recused. Motion carries with a majority vote. All right, moving right into discussion and business items. First, we will do our audit presentation today.
Good evening. I'm Miranda Wentland. I'm government partner at Abdul, joining you this evening to present the results of the 2025 financial. So I'll start with a general overview of our responsibility as auditors, then we'll take a look at the audit results, then we'll walk through some of the financial information coming directly from your audited financial statements, and then look at some key performance indicators and some of the trends that we're seeing. So our responsibility as auditors is to express an opinion on the fair presentation of the financial statements. We do that by applying a risk-based audit approach, That means we don't look at every financial transaction the city enters into. Instead, we focus on accounts that have significant account balances or a lot of activity running through an account during a calendar year. We then assess risks of those accounts to determine which accounts may likely be misstated. And then we design our audit procedures to get comfortable with the balances as presented by the city. So we do a wide variety of procedures. Whenever possible, we try to confirm balances with third parties such as banks, the state of Minnesota, the county, to directly verify the information that's in the accounting system. We also do comparative. We look at current year to prior year. We also look at current year to budget. Any material variances, we do get supporting documentation for. We also do a variety of inquiries and we'll pull individual receipts and disbursements. So once we've done all of that work, then we can get comfortable that the financial statements accurately reflect the financial position of the city as of the balance sheet date, 12/31/25. So we were able to successfully accomplish all of that. We've issued an unmodified opinion. That's the highest level of assurance that we can provide as independent auditors. It's what's known as a clean opinion. We also performed a legal compliance review related to accounting matters. We had no instances of non-compliance to report. And this year, the city did expend more than $1 million in federal dollars, which triggers additional federal grant testing. We tested the community facility loan and grant program, and also happy to report that we had no instances of non-compliance as a result of our test work. During our review or audit procedures, we do take a look at internal controls. So we're always wanting to see that there are checks and balances in place. And if there's anything that we deem to be a weakness in internal control, it is our responsibility to inform you of those weaknesses tonight. So if you've been on the council for a while, you've probably seen these before. They're very common findings in a financial statement audit for a local city. The first relates to having a very small finance department and the inability to properly segregate duties in an optimal way. So we do see transactions where another person would benefit the control process. However, we understand there's a cost to that as well. So just being aware of that risk and taking your role as oversight seriously there in the review process. As we prepared or performed the audit, we also prepared the financial statements. This is very common that the contracted auditor also prepares the financial statements, but since we're not here on a daily basis, there is an inherent risk there that we might miss something. Management has done a very thorough review of the financial statements, but it does represent an audit finding. And then the last one here relates to the timing of some of the expenses. We took a look at some of the 26 cash payments and some of those invoices that were paid in 26 related to 25 services. So we did propose adjustments to reflect those in the 25 financial statements, as that's when the underlying service occurred. So overall, very clean audit, and audit results and findings are very similar to other cities, so no concerns there. Next, we'll take a look at the general fund. This is the chief operating fund for the city. One of the financial performance measures that we take a look at is the amount of reserves that you have in place compared to the next year's budget. We are looking for anywhere from 35 to 50%. The city's target is right at 40%. And we'll see that based on your reserve balances, you're right around that 30% and have been consistently at 30% for the last 3 years. Looking at budget to actual results, we noted that revenues did exceed budget by about $18,000. We saw more charges for services and interest income than had been planned. We also noted that expenditures were under budget. There were some capital expenditures in the budget that did not occur during 2025. So overall, what we had noted is that the budget planned for expenses to exceed revenue by about $300,000. Actual amounts came in at about $200,000, so about $103,000 more favorable than planned within the general fund. After accounting for some of the transfers, overall we saw that fund balance increased about $46,000, bringing your ending fund balance in the general fund to about $875,000. Looking at some of the revenues in the general fund, taxes and intergovernmental revenues continue to be your primary source of revenue, representing about 81% of total collections within your general fund. Next slide here is some of your expenditures by function. 85% of total current expenditures are made up of general government, public safety, and public works. Public safety came in at about 40% of total current spending during 2025, when we look at your general fund. All right, so outside of the general fund, there's a couple other categories of governmental funds. You've got the city maintains 9 special revenue funds. These are funds set aside where the revenue source is either restricted or committed for a specific purpose. Overall, we saw a $10,000 or so increase in fund balances across those 9 special revenue funds, bringing your reserve balance in those funds to about $98,000. The city also maintains 5 capital project funds. This is where revenues specific for capital is recorded and then dispersed. We did see that fund balance decreased about 2.5 billion there, and that's primarily related to the planned spend down of some of the bond proceeds that carried over from 2024 related to City Hall and the public safety building project here. Overall fund balance set aside for capital is about 366,000 at the end of 2025. Next page here is some of the debt service activity. Overall, there's about $7.9 million in governmental bonds outstanding as of the end of the year. 3.9 million of that is related to the 2024 B temporary bond. So you'll see the graph here. There's a scheduled payoff in 2026 of that GO bond as you turn that into a more permanent financing that is related to the City Hall improvements. Outside of that one bar here in 2026, we can see that there's very steady principal and interest payments scheduled out for the next 10 years. All right, so I've got a couple slides here on some of the enterprise activity. Taking a look at the liquor fund. One of the things that we're looking for there as a measure of performance is that gross profit percentage. Came in at about 27% this year compared to about 26% in the prior year. We did see that operating expense did exceed that gross profit amount. So overall, a slight decline in net position, about 17,000 to end 2025. The bottom graph here represents your cash balance in reserve. Overall, there's about 372,000 sitting in your liquor fund as of the end of the year. That targeted balance is about 160,000. So reserves are healthy in your liquor fund. The next couple of slides are on the utilities. First graph compares in orange here operating receipts to in yellow operating disbursements and then in black debt payments. So we see kind of an off year in 2025 as there was a temporary bond that was refinanced or paid off in 2025. So operating expense and debt payments far exceeds revenue, but that was planned. If we pull that activity out, in most of the funds here, we're seeing that operating receipts is sufficient to cover operating costs. Overall cash balance in the water fund was about 1.4 million, well above the minimum targeted cash balance. We saw about a $691,000 increase in the water fund cash balance, and that is related to transfers from electric and the close of the utility reserve fund. All right, so similar situation with the wastewater fund and that bond issuance. So if we take a look at cash balances, we saw that overall cash balances are very flat between 24 and 25 and well above the minimum target balance. Electric fund, year over year, operating revenue continues to exceed the amount needed for debt service and operating expense. About a $454,000 increase in cash, bringing overall cash balance to about 3.1 million. Storm sewer fund, we saw a slight decrease in your cash balance, still sitting at about 1.2 million, well above the targeted. Balance of 215,000, so healthy cash reserves in utility funds. As mentioned, the utility reserve fund was closed for 2025 through transfer. All right, so outside of utility funds, we also have a slide here on your economic development authority. There's a variety of activities here, each tracked in a separate fund. Overall, we saw about a $59,000 increase in the EDA fund balance, bringing it to about 2.1 million. Cash and investment balances overall about $11.8 million in cash. The different colors here kind of depict where that cash balance is sitting, with that green section being your enterprise fund. We did see a decrease of about $1.7 million, but you'll see that's related to that orange color, which is your capital. That's a planned spend down of your bond funds. All right, so got a couple more slides here. Here is a graph that depicts the tax rates. So this is comparing your net tax capacity, and it's telling us what percentage of that tax capacity that your levy represents. So we're seeing the city of Olivia for 2025 is taxing about 97.7% of that overall tax capacity. We've compared that to other cities within Renville County. We don't have current information yet. As the audits get finalized, we'll have more information on that. But compared to other cities in Renville County, as well as other class 4 cities, which are cities within the same size of 10,000 or less. So what we see with that percentage slowly growing is that your overall tax base is growing, but your tax levy is increasing at a slightly higher percentage than that overall base. And then we also have a graph here looking at taxes per capita, and city of Olivia is at about 796 for 2025. Taking a look at the overall tax rate, so each taxing jurisdiction sets their levy, and that we come up with the overall tax rate. So we're looking at about 145% of the next net tax capacity. You'll see that really the increases between 23 and 24. Majority of that increase in tax levy overall is related to an increase in the school tax rate. The other levies are between the county and special taxing rates are very consistent year over year. City tax rate makes up about 67% of the total. So as we see, the city is issuing debt and investing in infrastructure, we do see that debt per capita has increased. So city of Olivia's balance is for 2025 about 10,902 per capita, which is an increase year over year for the last 4 years. But when we look at debt as a percentage of total expenditures, we do see it's very manageable at about 6.5%. So current expenditures would be the governmental activities. Debt per capita, we saw a decrease between 24 and 25. This does exclude capital related. So we did see that decrease because there was about $700,000 investment in the swimming pool project in 24 that did not occur again in 25. And then with the investment in infrastructure, we did see an increase in overall expenditures, capital expenditures per capita. There's about a $3 million investment in capital during 2025. So with that, I'd like to thank both Elizabeth and Sean for all of your assistance in the 25 audit. Everything was in very good order when we got here. We were able to do our work as needed. With that, if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Is there any questions? No? John, any questions? Comments? Anything from you guys from the city on the audit
I would
process?
say a major applaud, kudos to Sean. He does a really good job keeping everything in order, tracking the financial statements, getting prepped. Obviously it's a huge team effort, but that team effort in this case is led by Sean. So huge kudos to you. Miranda was new to APDA this year, and we feel in very great hands with Miranda. So good team effort to deliver you the product.
All right, great. Thank you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah, anything to? Just to report? Okay. All right, moving on, we'll move on to item B, which is our refuse contract recommendation.
Yeah, so counselors Baumgartner, Ferguson, and myself got together last week. That was the group that kind of self-selected at our May 18th meeting on who would be able to review proposals in between when we requested them to be due versus when we wanted to award the contract, understanding our current contract expires in July. We looked at both proposals in advance of this meeting. Everybody on council received the full extent of both proposals. They compared things, pricing across the categories, truck sizes, local employment, outreach, just community engagement. And in comparing all of those different items from the proposals, looking at it holistically, the recommendation out of that working group is to award our 4-year contract to West Central Sanitation. We summarized it pretty cleanly in our one page there, but if anybody has any questions, we're happy to answer them. I don't know, did I leave anything out?
No, you got it. Any last stuff, any other comments? Todd, any questions?
Nope.
John, any comments, questions?
No comments or questions.
All right,
So with that, we would then want to move forward with resolution 57. This should be 2026-57.
all right.
I'll move the resolution.
All right, we have a motion to approve resolution 2026-57. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been motion and seconded to approve. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, I will call roll call vote. Baumgartner.
Aye.
Evers, aye. Ferguson
Aye.
and Howard.
Aye.
Hawkinson.
Yes.
All right, motion carries. Thank you guys for your submissions and look forward to working with you.
Yeah, we want to thank everybody for taking the time to prepare a proposal, letting us look at everything holistically. We really appreciate it. And this is for residential. Our code states that for commercial contractors, commercial businesses can negotiate privately with a contractor. So commercial can be done through any contractor who the business would like to work with. So.
All right, thank you all for all your work on that. Next, we will move on to item D, which is the first reading of ordinance 2026-09, amending chapter 152 regarding R2 high density residential bulk regulations.
If anybody would like to make their exit, we won't hold you to discuss something.
Thank you guys for coming down, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So this is the first reading. Again, our planning and zoning committee is looking really closely at different things that we can do to be more developmental friendly for people who are coming in, who may be wanting to build on different lots. So one of the things that they looked at was amending this R2 high density residential bulk regulations. This is of course the first reading, but the things that they're proposing is to remove the maximum lot. Let's just scroll so you guys can see them. Maximum lot coverage, just removing that completely, as well as amending the front yard and the rear yard setbacks for single family and 2 family. One of the reasons they wanted to look at removing this maximum lot coverage is in our planning commission. Great visual was provided kind of comparing the buildable area of lots depending upon the square footage of the lot. So if you take our smallest lot size for a single family, 4,000, Marissa did a great job of showing, okay, you have this big of a setback in your front yard, your backyard, your side yard, here's your buildable area. But then on top of that, we're also going to be looking at your maximum lot coverage. So it looks like we were kind of getting multiple bites at the apple to accomplish a very similar thing. And so that being discussed at the planning commission level, they agreed. And so this is what you see in front of you today. We also will be putting out a article probably this week about all of the things that planning commission as well as EDA are working on as it's geared towards these things. To help in case of people, we have some infill lots that are for sale to help show people what the city is doing to be more development friendly.
Yeah, I think it's great that we're taking these steps to update everything and, be more very proactive in helping builders and residents, increase the value and the beautification of the city. So I don't think it's going to be detrimental to things. So
I agree. It's great. I think it is good that we're doing this. Just free it up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. No motion or anything is needed. It's just a first reading, but so you'll hear me say this exact same thing in 2 weeks. But any questions?
All right, hearing none, we will move on to non-conforming structure policy.
Yeah, so in the similar vein, kind of building off of what Councilor Baumgartner said, which is encouraging people to build, develop, to beautify their lots, if you will, improve upon. We wanted to come up with a better administrative policy governing our non-conforming structures. So when you're thinking of non-conforming structures, these can take a lot of different shapes, but for this example, think about somebody who has a garage who was built a little bit too close to an alleyway or a little bit too close to their neighboring property. The garage was probably built before our zoning code in the 70s, and if somebody wanted to expand upon that, we don't have a good structure or policy in place on whether they can or cannot. It's kind of been up to staff interpretation, which we want to make a consistent experience as possible when people come to the city to ask about things. Marissa put together this administrative policy governing these non-conforming structures and went through the planning commission to review it. So essentially it gives us a little bit more of a structure to handle these non-conforming structures on how people can improve them while still sticking to our code.
Really what that's boiling down to is you can fix it, but you can't make it bigger.
So yes and no, you can fix it for these types of things. You can make it a little bit bigger if you're not breaking any more rules. So let's say you have a wall of a structure that eats 5 feet into a setback, but you'd like to make that building a little bit wider on the horizontal plane. We would let you extend that a little bit wider. You're not changing the use of it. It's always going to be a garage. You're just making the garage a little bit bigger into the area of your yard that's possible. We're not letting you go into a setback any further or to go into, we're not letting you build closer to the alley than it already is. So you can't increase that deviation. You can't create a zoning issue. You can't require a variance of any sort. But again, if your shed is built 5 feet into your setback, you can extend that line horizontally. You can extend it vertically because that increases kind of the intensity of the structure. So this is the way that you can kind of improve upon that structure.
Good. Any other questions? Need any action on that or?
If you can approve the policy, that would be great.
Make a motion to approve policy.
I'll second.
It's been motioned and seconded to approve the non-conforming structure policy. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Baumgartner.
Aye.
Edwards, aye. Ferguson.
Aye.
Hawkinson. Hawkinson.
Aye, yes, yes.
Howard. All right, motion carries. All right, reports. We'll move on to reports from council and staff. Council, anybody have any reports?
No, just impressed with the citywide, which is coming up.
The citywide cleanup.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm here to report on those numbers.
We'll move right on to Elizabeth for the second.
So yes, citywide cleanup days were a big success. On Friday, we had 161 people attend. 60 people came multiple times. I don't have the statistics on what was the most time somebody returned, but maybe a statistic to build upon for 2020. For Saturday, we had 79 people, 42 people came multiple times. We're estimating we collected about 18 dumpsters worth of items. And for scrap loads, we're estimating around 6 loads of scrap metal so far, could be more. But it was a very large pile. How this compares to last year, so last year in 2025, we had 152 people on Friday and we had 100 people on Saturday. So net we're like a little less, but it's pretty close. Dumpsters we used about 15 last year and we had about 3 loads of scrap. So our numbers are staying flat, but it doesn't seem like people have less to get rid of. So that's really helpful. I will say once again, a lot of positive anecdotes that were offered. West Central Sanitation was a fabulous partner. Again, when we thought we were going to run out of space, they checked in on us multiple times to make sure we had the dumpsters we needed. They even brought our public works teams donuts on Saturday morning, which was very well appreciated. Thank you. So overall, really successful. We're looking at kind of for any of the proceeds we get from the scrap material to reinvest that to help us in next year. But I think this is a very popular ongoing program. We did get some people who had received a friendly reminder that maybe they should take advantage of this service. We did see some of them come, which was very heartening.
It's good.
Before I dive into anything else, any questions about citywide?
I really appreciate that we do that because we are really good at enforcing the code of keeping it clean. So like giving the ability, some people that can't afford it or just don't have the means to leave town with it, to be able to provide that is huge.
Well, it's better to be proactive like that, let people get rid of stuff where you gotta go spend time and energy making them do it, you know?
I will say there was a little confusion with our advertising when people would call and say, oh, so I get a free dumpster at my house. And I said, no, you have to bring your items to the dumpsters behind the public works garage. But if you can't, you can always call West Central Sanitation. They will pick it up for you for a fee, but there is other ways to work if you're not able to get it there. So again, really successful program, very excited about it. The other things just to mention is, since our last meeting, myself and Susie got to tag along with the county EDA when they did daycare appreciation deliveries to the Olivia daycares. So that was really nice to see all of our home daycare providers. Corn Capital Days raffle tickets are on sale, so get them while they're hot. I have, this idea that if you are one of the first 100 to buy, that increases your chances to win. I don't actually hold you to that. But next meeting, we will also have our check-in on the SMART group. When we had that work session a couple of weeks ago, we'll be checking back in with them next meeting. And the Summer Community Center is open from 9 to 1. We're working on different programming and advertising to get more bodies in there. So
Elizabeth,
yeah.
I was talking with a resident who uses the community center and was asking for a way to have a punch card or whatever that is be more valuable, so like one punch can get in more than one person.
Oh, sure.
Something along those lines.
I'm hearing that feedback, and we can discuss internally if it makes sense to have a punch card per family versus per person. I've talked to the pool and they do it both ways, so to possibly be consistent with the other city facility who utilizes the punch card.
It was basically boiling down to it's just so much easier to manage one card with higher value punches than 8 cards.
Yeah, and that makes sense, and that's good feedback here. So we can definitely look at implementing that change. So. Anything else I missed?
I've got one thing that was brought up this week. They're asking about fire hydrants and our lights at the main 4 corners.
The lights at the main 4 corners, I can confidently say that is a MnDOT issue. The fire hydrants are, of course, ours. Are they talking about flushing them out or?
Talking about painting and beautifying and all that kind of stuff.
They want to paint a mural on it?
No, they just want them to look nice. We've got everybody coming into town soon for Corn Capital Days and they could use some refreshing.
Okay.
But those lights, there have been more than one that if you have a contact person that I can give to them, because I keep getting asked, who do I contact? And I have said multiple times, that is a MnDOT issue. So if you've got somebody that you would really like to be put on blast for that, please share that information, because I've got a few that would love nothing more than to be able to contact them and let them know how crappy those lights look out there.
I am happy to track that down.
Yes.
Okay, and then I will inquire with our water wastewater team about hydrants. And then the only other thing would be notices and communications.
Yes.
So you have two different notices, only one with a full flyer, but June 8th is of course our natural disaster response planning at the community center at 7 p.m. You all got invited last meeting. City staff will be present, fire department will be present. I believe the Olivia ambulance service has also been there. Mike Hennon will be running it. He will, so just a word to prepare everybody self. So he'll be breaking everybody into groups for their different issue areas. So if you are a member who wears multiple hats, like you're part of an organization like the ambulance service and the city council, you will need to choose at this meeting which hat you will be wearing. So just put that in the back of your minds that if you have multiple hats that you wear, which hat do you want to wear for this meeting? And then of course on June 9th, this just went out on our Facebook page as well. We are putting on the event called Raising the Stakes, Charitable Gambling 101. Where we bring in somebody from the state to talk about charitable gambling, the do's, the don'ts, best practices. It's going to be a free event at the community center. So we hope anybody who's interested, be it the general community, be it a member of a nonprofit group who wants to do raffles, that they come on by and learn a little bit about the do's and don'ts of charitable gambling.
Along the lines of the natural disaster response planning, just a question to you fellow council members. How many of you have the ICS training? ICS.
I did when it was on the ambulance, but that's flat,
Oh,
I'm sure.
1, 2, 7, and 800. They're free courses to go online. You can read through them. Some of them are 20 minutes, some of them are 45 minutes. It's a federal certification, but it kind of gives you the basics as to what happens when there is a major incident and how incident command works. And as a council member, where you're going to play into that. So having a little bit of knowledge ahead of time could be very beneficial. Should the time come where we ever do get pulled into something, because if you have that basic knowledge with 100, 200, 700, and 800, it could be very helpful.
I'm interested. Could you email me that link or something?
Yeah, we can find it. It's just a.
I'll email it out.
Okay.
Thank you.
You can send it to everybody?
Thank you guys for that. All right, anything else to come before the council? Otherwise, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
John?
Sorry.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll do a roll call vote. Baumgartner.
Aye.
Evers, aye. Ferguson.
Hi.
Hawkinson.
Yes.
And Howard.
Aye.
All right, thank you everyone for your time tonight and have a wonderful evening.
Can I mention something?
Sure.
One
Well, no,